So, you've probably heard the term AI agent thrown around a lot, right? It's one of those fundamental ideas in artificial intelligence, but what does it actually mean? Well, today, we're going to break it down. And to do that, let's start with a kind of weird question. What does a simple robot vacuum have in common with a super advanced, multi-million-dollar self-driving car? I know, it sounds like the start of a really bad joke, but here's the thing. They both operate on the exact same core principle. And once you get that principle, a whole lot of modern AI is going to make so much more sense.
Okay, so what's this big secret, this core principle? Well, it all comes down to understanding what we mean by an agent, and you might be really surprised by how simple the answer actually is.
And that's it. That's the whole definition. An agent is just anything that can sense what's going on around it, take some kind of action, and do it all to achieve a goal. Think of it like a simple three-part recipe: sense, act, and have a goal. Let's make this crystal clear with an example we all know.
Think about a robot vacuum. It's the perfect agent. First, it senses its surroundings. It sees walls, it detects patches of dirt. Second, it acts. It moves around, it turns on its little brushes, it sucks up the mess. And third, it has a very clear goal: make the floor spotless. See? Sense, act, goal. That is an AI agent in a nutshell. So now that we've got a handle on what an agent is, let's dig into how it actually gets things done. How does it interact with the world? It all boils down to this constant loop of seeing and doing.
First off, we have to talk about the environment. And really, it's exactly what it sounds like. For our robot vacuum, the environment is your room, the floor, the table legs, maybe even your cat that keeps getting in the way. It's the whole playground where the agent lives and works.
And this whole process is a cycle that just keeps repeating. The agent uses its sensors, things like cameras or bump detectors, to figure out what's going on in the environment. That info gets sent to the agent's brain, which is just the program that decides what to do next. And then it uses its actuators, like its wheels or its vacuum motor, to actually perform that action. That action changes the environment, and boom, the loop starts all over again. It's simple, elegant, and incredibly powerful.
All right, so far this all sounds pretty harmless, right? We're talking about vacuums sensing dirt. But this is where our story takes a really critical turn. Because the type of data an agent can sense can be way, way more personal than just dust bunnies under your sofa.
Let's just think about the huge leap in scale here. Your vacuum senses walls and dirt. Simple enough. But what about the other AI agents in our lives? Our phones, our smart speakers, they're sensing your location, they're looking at your photos, they're even listening to your conversations. And the most important thing to realize is the underlying principle is identical. It's still just sense and act. But the nature of the data being collected is just on a completely different level. If a vacuum makes a mistake, it bumps into a chair. If an AI makes a mistake with your personal data, well, the consequences can be a whole lot bigger. And that brings us to maybe the most important question of all. Why does any of this data collection actually matter so much? And it really comes down to two key things: your privacy and your control.
Protecting our privacy isn't just about keeping secrets. It's about security. It's what keeps our personal information from being used in ways we never agreed to. It's a huge defense against things like identity theft. And look, when we trust the technology we use, that's when we can really embrace all the amazing things it can do. But ultimately, it's about you having control over your own data.
This quote here really drives the point home. We are not talking about little bits and pieces of information. The agents we interact with every single day are designed, from the ground up, to collect data on a truly massive scale. And just being aware of that is the first step to making smart choices about the tech we bring into our lives.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. From the humble robot vacuum to the incredibly powerful AI in our pockets, these agents are getting more and more capable every single day. The big question we all have to start asking ourselves is, where do we draw the line? What are we comfortable with them sensing, and what parts of our lives should stay private? It's a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us.